against Bitcoin.
It's going up forevermore.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, breaking news, culture, pragmatic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into Simply Bitcoin Live, the most watched daily Bitcoin only live show on YouTube, Rumble, X. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We have lots of content to cover today. We're going to start off first with, I think I've heard this multiple times from multiple people, and Wicked actually released a poll this morning, which I found fascinating. Basically asked 3 separate questions, 5 questions in total, and it kind of gave a mainstream what the expectations of what the expectations in terms of price are going to be by 2030. What are most people expecting? And also, of course, we have the ARK Invest, what Cathie Wood and co expect as well, and then we have Michael Saylor, about a 1-minute clip of Michael Saylor's speech at BTC Prague on the main stage. His whole presentation is about, he did something called the 21 Rules of Bitcoin, which we're going to cover today. And Beautyon actually wrote kind of like a rebuttal on that, which I found really interesting. So we're going to cover all of that. Also, the EU continuing to go down the totalitarian route. And here's a headline from No BS Bitcoin. EU's encryption report finds layer 2's private ownership of Bitcoin problematic for law enforcement. We've been saying this for a long time, how the current system works, a system where politicians and the government could just turn off your money, confiscate it at the flick of a switch. Bitcoin in self-custody is a game changer. It changes the whole conversation, changes the power dynamic, but only if individuals really take advantage of the tools in order to achieve that level of sovereignty. Now, if we're able to achieve this, and I think that's what a lot of Bitcoiners are expecting, like a percentage of society is taking self-custody of their wealth out of the hands of government. And I'm not just talking about taxes. I'm not talking about like wealth confiscation. I'm talking about it takes away the government's ability to debase. Like if no one is using the currency, they can debase all they want, but it's not going to do anything, right? Like if they don't have people using the currency, then it doesn't make sense debasing it. It doesn't do anything, right? And what you're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years is you're going to see the state fight back. We've been making that the case for that for a long time now on Simply. Now in the United States, things took a turn. Right. We had, the Biden administration. We've been talking about it all throughout the week. They've taken a very hostile stance towards the industry. And then it was only recently that there was a whole change in tune when it entered the political discussion, and it is an election year. Right. So you have now candidates basically saying, I'll protect the right to self-custody. So but the point remains is that if you are in favor of big government, big states, huge control apparatus, self-custody is not your friend. You don't like that. If you're a fan of smaller government, less control, more decentralization, self-custody is for you. I would like to make the case, and maybe this is the libertarian capitalist in me, that I think society as a whole would be better with smaller government. It would be more efficient. The markets would be more free. They would be more open. People would have more freedom. And I think that would be better for everyone. History has shown that the best way to organize a society is just a free market. The freer the market, the better, in my opinion. That's where you lead. That's where you reach levels of prosperity in human history. The more totalitarian, top-down control society has, the less prosperity. Society becomes poor. Right? They need to coerce more. They need to control more just to get people to go along with the scam, essentially. So Bitcoin is an enemy of any central totalitarian ideology, and anyone who's against Bitcoin is fundamentally against freedom. And one of the best things about Bitcoin is that it exposes incentives, right? So we're going to talk about that today because I feel like it's very important. I think the fight is just getting started, in my opinion. But anyways, no more delay. I do want my legendary co-host, who's always optimistic, Optimus Fields, in the house. How you doing, bro?
I am doing great. I was struggling on yesterday's show. My elbow was hurting. I felt like I was getting sick after the show. I ate a huge ribeye, got some sleep. I'm feeling good today on Friday. So Opti is back. Hopefully I don't get sick this weekend, but your boy's back. Yesterday was a struggle. And everyone was trolling me in the chat. So, I'm back, Nico. We got no time to get sick over here at Simply Bitcoin, but I got some raw honey in me. Ate a ribeye, took a nap. I feel wonderful today. I still for some reason can't get to bed early. I don't know what's going on here. So rolling around in bed for like 3 hours, it's not the funnest time in the world of Opti, but that doesn't matter. You guys aren't here for my life updates, but man, I feel great. It's Friday. You all know what that means.
Let's get it going. Let's get the energy going,
what's
bro.
going on.
Let's get the blood pumping, man.
Yeah, we'll see.
We
Hopefully
made it another week.
We'll see. We did make it another week. Oh my goodness. Yeah, man. Sheesh, the struggle is real, but hey, this is our life. We're blessed to show up every day. We're blessed that this is our job. Life is good, man. We live in paradise. We live on the Bitcoin standard. We can't complain, even when you are feeling sick. Anyways, let's bring in our guest because
let's bring in our guest today. We got Taylor. Go ahead.
From MyNode. Yeah, we got Taylor from MyNode. And I just want to tee him up because this is exactly what you said in the intro, Nico. If you use the tools, you can achieve sovereignty for yourself. And Taylor wanted to come on and we're going to talk about why you should run a node, guys. I'm sick and tired of seeing you guys in the chat. You hang out with us every day and you don't run a node yet. So we're going to go into why you should run a node, the levels of becoming a Bitcoiner to a toxic Bitcoin maxi. And then, of course, we're going to talk about MyNode. So Taylor, how you doing this morning?
Great. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited to be on. And I just wanted to say, I love that introduction. That was such a good introduction just about, kind of what's going on in the political landscape and trying to shut down money and, or I guess, free your money and take control of it. And so a quick backstory, I remember that was actually probably what got me into Bitcoin back in the day. I was reading the Bitcoin talk forums and I was like, this is kind of interesting. And then somebody made the point about, there isn't sort of like a Federal Reserve that can decide to just print more money. And I was like, that's awesome. We didn't even have bad inflation at the time, but that point was just so powerful in thinking that there's an algorithm that controls the monetary supply. And it's not people just deciding one day, I want there to be more money. I think we need more money. I'm going to go start, handing it out to whatever cause I think is good. And so that was absolutely one of the things that got me into Bitcoin. So I really like that introduction. And then that ties into, you need this free money alternative that you can start using. And so that is Bitcoin, but there's different ways to use Bitcoin. I think a lot of people kind of start looking into it and then they go think, oh, number go up. Like, let me go buy some Bitcoin. They go buy it, they put it on Coinbase or buy it on Coinbase or, some exchange. And they just watch it. They just let it sit there and they're like, cool, it's going up, but that's still confiscatable. That's still, there's third-party risk. Coinbase could go under or whatever exchange, could go under. You could lose it. It could get hacked. And the exchanges are, of course, big targets. And so, then the next level down, I think that a lot of people get stuck at. A lot of people don't go down here, but that's taking self-custody of your Bitcoin. And I'm sure all the people in chat here, understand a lot of this, but hopefully they have. If anybody hasn't taken their Bitcoin off the exchanges, please go do that. I'm not going to ask you to call yourselves out, but if you haven't, please consider some of these suggestions. But get it off the exchange. Take custody of it, and then preferably, don't keep it on an internet connected computer. Put it in cold storage, and then that way, your Bitcoin is about as safe as it can be. But at that point, you still have other concerns. There's privacy concerns. There's who knows about your Bitcoin, who has access to your public keys, and so even if they can't control it as in spending it, they can still look at it. They can still track where it's going. They know how much you have, and people don't want that. Do you want every investment account, every checking account, every savings account you have to be public information? I don't think there's a person out there that would say, yeah, I want that. I want people to be able to track all my spending and everything. Nobody wants that. That would be insane. So, and I think that's when you get into running a node and why that's important, because then your transactions go from your, cold storage device, from whatever wallets you control. Those transactions are going to your node directly to the Bitcoin network. They're not going through a third party. They're not going through some live service that's, seeing all of your XPubs and seeing every time you spend your Bitcoin. They don't have the ability to reject it. I'm not sure if that's happened in the past, but a third party service that you're relying on, which I think a lot of the hardware wallet providers that's their default setup. It's to go through some service that they're offering, so they can kind of see, hey, we've got this many users, we've got people kind of controlling these funds, and I don't know if they go into a lot of detail about what they track, but they have the ability to. And so I think what you would want to do ideally is run your own node, divert those transactions from going to the third party, send it directly to your node, and then it's on the Bitcoin network, and that can be done via Tor. So even your ISP or whatever else can't be trying to take a look at your transactions. And you trust me, bro, don't verify.
Yeah, I was just laughing at
I think that's kind of what like a lot of people don't realize they're doing that, but that's what they're doing. They're just saying, like, let me go rely on this third party service. Like, let me go rely on this other company to go, help me transact my Bitcoin, which, that's not ideal. That's not what Bitcoin was meant to be.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand, which is like, you can be interacting with Bitcoin, but if you're not running your own node, you're trusting someone else's fundamentally. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like, essentially, I think step one is self-custody. Step two is running a node so that you're using your own copy of the blockchain. Because if not, you're trusting someone else. You're doxing your privacy, potentially your location with the IP address. You're definitely doxing your stack for sure, right? And that's not ideal, right? So you should definitely be, self-hosting, and you should be definitely running your own thing, because if not, you have to trust someone else's. And like, I think we're gonna move into a future where and you're already kind of seeing the inklings of this, like just running a node itself is like it is a form of protest, right? Like it's like, not only you are your own bank, you are the CEO of that bank. Like, you make the rules. If you run it through Tor, you broadcast everywhere worldwide. No one knows where you are. Like, it's incredibly empowering. Like, I can't recommend it enough. Anyways, guys, before we start,
one last thing I want to say. Taylor won't shame you into taking self-custody, but Opti will. Do not leave your Bitcoin on an exchange.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I do want to give a very special shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. It is self-custody by default. What does that mean? That means that you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you intend to take self-custody, right? Which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos, because it's the separation of money and state. Separation of money and state requires self-custody. Self-custody is the revolution. So support self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramps. The only one being in the United States, bitcoinwell.com. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the US. All you got to do to get started is you put in your email address and you start the party, man. And the verification process is very quick. There's a clear 1% spread, which is the industry standard at this point, Bitcoin only, and it's completely non-custodial, empowering sovereign ownership with free automatic self-custody. By the way, if you sign up right now today using the QR code on your screen and using the promo code for our audio listeners, simply BTC, you get 3 tosses to the Bitcoin wishing well for free. If you use that promo code, if you sign up to bitcoinwell.com today. What is the Bitcoin Wishing Well? Well, it's this really, really cool game. We'll play it in 1 sec. All you got to do to earn points is buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well. You earn points and you can use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well. So I'm going to contribute some of those points to the Bitcoin Wishing Well, and you can access this via your Bitcoin Well dashboard. Anyways, it says you're being transported back to 1999 when the world is excitingly preparing for the Millennium Falcon. Toss your coin into the Bitcoin Wishing Well and wish for a better future. If you're lucky, you'll win up to 1 million Satoshis. Let's do that right now. And get your Lightning wallets up, because I won't claim this. So first one, first serve, and 2,100 sats. So I'm going to leave that on screen. First one to claim it is the first one that gets the Satoshis. Guys, support Bitcoin support self-custody Bitcoin on-ramps. Check out bitcoinwell.com today. Use promo code simplybtc and get 3 Wishing Well games. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers. Lots to talk about.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure. Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. All right, everybody. I made it incredibly easy for you guys. Scan the QR code on your screen and you can use promo code simply to get 15% off. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $65,290. Sats per dollar is 1,000. What?
I said it's over.
All right. Opti is taking over the show. I'm going to make him full screen and we're renaming to Simply Fiat. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price, sats per dollar is 1,532. Block height, 847,920. Blocks to halving, 202,080. Halving estimate, March 25th, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,812 BTC. Capacity value, 314 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.59%. Market capitalization, 1.29 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 8.09%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to play you this clip. It's pretty cool short form content that our friends over at BTC Prague made. And of course, they're highlighting the Chad Saylor. Seems like he had a keynote at the conference. He absolutely crushed it. Let's check it out.
Everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. In December of 2013, I looked at it and I tweeted, you know, Bitcoin's days are numbered. It'll probably go the way of online gambling. Big mistake. Bitcoin was $892. Okay. I got the price I deserved. And when it gets to $950,000, there'll be some whiny person, a talking head on television, saying it looks overbought right now. It looks a little bit heated. We think it's going to trade down to 700,000. And they'll miss it, it'll go to 8 million. And they'll buy it at 8 million. And they will get Bitcoin at the price they deserve.
I mean, bro, $8 million Bitcoin. That's how much X is that? Like 100, more than 100X, I think.
More than 100X from here. Yeah,
dude, that's absolutely insane. I could feel Opti smiling from here. Anyways,
it's my kind of bull sauce, Nico. This is my kind of bull sauce.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So now let's pull it back down to earth, right? By the way, I don't disagree with anything that Saylor just said. I fundamentally agree with all of it. I think eventually it's inevitable that Bitcoin hits 8 million. I think most people, just because it's infinity divided by 21 million, they're gonna just print a ridiculous amount of money until infinity. That's just the way that it works. So I mean, like, it will reach 8 million one day. The question is, what is the purchasing power of that said 8 million? I think that's the bigger question. Anyways, so going back to this, what's Bitcoin's price going to be at 2030? There's a lot of people that keep saying this date. I keep saying seeing this pattern of this date, 2030, $1 million Bitcoin. And I want to talk about it. So, of course, we have ARK Invest. And what came out this morning was this financial firm called Bernstein came out with just this expectation. A broker assigned the software company. Anyways, so there's that. And then there's this poll by Wicked that I want to get to. So first, we're going to start off with this CoinDesk article. It says the price of Bitcoin is likely to hit 1 million by 2033 and reach a cycle high of 200,000 by 2025. Bernstein said it initiated coverage of software developer MicroStrategy, the biggest corporate owner of the largest cryptocurrency, with an outperforming rating, MicroStrategy now owns 1.1% of the global supply of the world's largest cryptocurrency, worth $14.5 billion, having transformed itself from a small software company in the space of 4 years. The broker said in a research report on Thursday. Bernstein initiated coverage of the Tyson Corner, Virginia-based company with a $2,890 price target. The shares closed at around $1,484 on Thursday. The NASDAQ-listed firm currently holds 214,000 Bitcoin. It began buying the cryptocurrency in 2020. The company's founder and chairman, Michael Saylor, has become synonymous with brand Bitcoin and has positioned MicroStrategy as a leading Bitcoin company, attracting at a scale capital for an attractive Bitcoin acquisition strategy. MicroStrategy positions itself as an active leveraged Bitcoin strategy versus passive spot ETFs. And it goes on to say the broker's BTC price forecast is driven by the unprecedented demand from spot exchange traded funds and because supply of the cryptocurrency is constrained. Bernstein now estimates that Bitcoin could reach 500,000 by 2029. The 2025 estimate was raised from 150,000. I find that really interesting. Now, let's check out the ARK Invest. It's personally one of my favorite just because of the way that it's broken down. And she kind of lays out, or they better said, they lay out a bunch of things that Bitcoin, basically making an assumption that Bitcoin is going to penetrate a percentage of these markets. So, of course, you have the corporate treasuries, you have the remittance asset, you have nation state treasury, you have emerging market currency, you have economic settlement network, you have seizure resistant asset, you have institutional investment, you have digital gold. So all those things Bitcoin could potentially penetrate. And even with like relatively small percentages, that just makes up the base case. Like the bottom one is digital gold. Are you saying by 2030, Bitcoin isn't going to make up the entire market cap of gold? I think it will. I think it's going to replace gold a lot faster than that, right? And then she has the expectations based on the bear case, the base case, and the bull case. So the bear case to ARK Invest is $258,000 Bitcoin. The base case is $682,000 Bitcoin. The bull case is $1.48 million Bitcoin. Now, this is the one that I find the most fascinating because it kind of reminds me of that show, like Who Wants to Be Like a Millionaire? No pun intended, by the way. And one of the things is like ask the audience. This is exactly what Wicked did. He asked the Bitcoin Twitter audience, the Bitcoin Twitterverse, what they thought. And there's 5 questions, and it kind of like leads you at like an assumption. So I'm going to make this interactive. Opti, will Bitcoin have an all-time high above 100K by 2030?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. 95.2% of people on Bitcoin Twitter agree with you. Taylor, will Bitcoin have an all-time high above 250K by 2030?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So 95.3%, which is interesting because more people voted on
Nico, there's less votes too. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. There's less of a poll. Okay, back to you, Opti. Will Bitcoin have an all-time high above 500K by 2030?
Yes.
Okay. 81% agree.
Bears in the chat.
Taylor, will Bitcoin have an all-time high above 750K by 2030?
Ooh, this one starts getting hard. If you're just talking about peaking, I think there's a chance, but on average, I would say probably not.
So an all-time high. So peaking.
Right. So I don't know. I think it's possible, but I don't know. My 2030 prediction, I think, would be closer to, I don't know, low few hundred thousands. Probably, I don't know. I think it might peak at about 500K.
Okay. So no for this one.
I don't think so.
Oof. Vast majority, 61% of Bitcoin Twitter disagrees. They think it's going to go above 750K. And then the last one, will Bitcoin have an all-time high above 1 million by 2030? And let's see.
For the culture, we gotta say yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, whoa.
Okay. Bears in the chat.
56% of Bitcoin Twitter believes that no, by 2030 we will not hit $1 million. But it seems like Bitcoin Twitter does believe that it will be between 750. So most people believe it's going to be between 750 and 1 million over the next 6 years ago. Really, like 5.5 years. So that's still an incredible return. I don't think anything else will give you that type of thing, like sure thing. So just to kind of give like a quick recap, Bitcoin Twitter believes it's going to be between 750 and 1 million by 2030. ARK Invest, they lay out 3 cases. The base case is 682,000. You know, these numbers, like they seem kind of similar. And Bernstein does predict. Well, to be fair, it does say within 10 years. So we're about 5.5 years from 2030. So
what was the price 5.5 years ago?
I can't. I'm gonna have to do this in the background.
Peaking was about like 20K because it was like what the 2017-18 cycle that peaked.
And the low was 3K, right? Like 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's 3.5 to 70K?
Yeah, 3.5.
Well, just go low to highs.
Than a 10x. It's more than a 10x.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's more than a 10x. Yeah.
So I think Taylor's right with the 700K prediction is maybe where we're going to be at.
I mean, it's possible, but yeah.
Anyways,
my guess would be closer to maybe 500K peaking in the next cycle. So like around 2030.
I do find it interesting though that like now you have like this isn't just a bunch of plebs or a bunch of random anon Bitcoiners that are just like
we got institutions being stupidly bullish.
And like that's the reason that we're going to cover it because we never do. We at Simply Bitcoin never does price predictions ourselves, but we do cover it when notable people are talking about this. And I just found that fascinating because it's Bernstein. You have Kathy Wood from ARK Invest, and then of course, like kind of ask the crowd of Bitcoin Twitter. And it's interesting because the general consensus is about the same. It's like roughly $1 million, between 750 and $1 million. Roughly people think that. And the vast majority of people truly believe it's going to be way north of $500,000. I mean, that is absolutely insane. I remember it's like as if it was yesterday. I remember when Bitcoin was at like $3,500. Like, and everyone thought the sky was falling. I remember that. So we had what was that guy's comment on this day today?
On this day, 5 years ago, it was 8,690.
Yeah, I mean, there you go, right? So, anyways, my Chinese fortune cookie says 637,000 by end of year. Could you imagine like things would break? Yeah. But anyways, Satwise Jank says, I'll be happy with 150K this run. We've been sideways for so long. We won't ever fall below that high of 60s as a new low. So yeah, I mean, very, very interesting. But anyways, I thought you guys would find it. I thought you guys would find that valuable and interesting. All these different takes. Anyways, before we move on to the next section, I do want to give an incredibly special shout out to our sponsor, and of course, I'm talking Pleb Party. Guys, it's going to be an amazing party hosted in Nashville the day before the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth, and of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a 12-hour open bar party from noon to midnight. It's going to be hosted at an amazing venue, a rustic automobile factory from 1910 with brick walls and tons of proof of work atmosphere. Confirmed attendees include Larry Lepard, Preston Pish, the entire Simply Bitcoin crew, James Lavish, Robert Breedlove, Mark Moss, Pubby, Tatum Turnup, Adam O'Brien, and many, many more. The last pleb party in Miami was sold out 8 days before. Over 1,000 Bitcoin plebs are expected to attend. So guys, you definitely don't want to miss the pleb party in Nashville. Opti and I are going to be there. It's going to be a great celebration. You want to get your tickets quickly before the prices go up because they will go up. And I think this is the last opportunity you have to get tickets at the $200 price point. So looking forward to seeing you guys in Nashville. This is going to be an awesome Bitcoin celebration. All right, everybody, let's hit the culture. Lots to talk about. Now let's hit the culture. Let's hit the news. Let's try that one more time.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody, I scanned the QR code on your screen right now will take you directly to the Foundation Devices website where you guys can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. Remember, guys, not your keys, not your cheese. Self-custody is the revolution. You want to get yourself a Passport by Foundation Devices. All right, everybody, check this out. This is Sailor's presentation from BTC Prague, 21 Rules of Bitcoin by Sailor. 1, everyone who understands Bitcoin buys Bitcoin. 2, everyone is against Bitcoin before they are for it. 3, you will never be done learning about Bitcoin. 4, Bitcoin is powered by chaos. 5, Bitcoin is the only game in the casino that we can all win. 6, Bitcoin will protect you if you're not wearing the armor. 7, Bitcoin is the one thing in the universe that you can truly own. 8, everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. 9, only buy Bitcoin with the money you can't afford to lose. That's a really good point, right? You know, because you always hear it. It's like only buy Bitcoin with the money you can afford to lose. Kind of flips that on its head. Only buy Bitcoin with the money you can't afford to lose. 10, tickets to escape the matrix are priced in Bitcoin. Oof, that's deep. 11, is Michael Saylor based? Maybe. Anyways, 11, Bitcoin insight is restricted to those with a need to know. 12, all your models will be destroyed. Talking about this episode. 13, the cure to the economic ill is the orange pill. 14, be for Bitcoin, not against fiat. 15, Bitcoin is for everyone. 16, learn to think in Bitcoin. 17, you don't change Bitcoin, it changes you. 18, laser eyes protect you from endless lies. 19, respect Bitcoin or we'll make a clown out of you. 20, you do not sell your Bitcoin. 21, spread Bitcoin with love. So what do you think, Opti? What's your take on this before I move on?
I mean, I like it. He's obviously talking in my language, but the one that I have the most contention with is Bitcoin is powered by chaos. Like, while I agree and I see the sentiment, it like, I kind of want to say the opposite. Like, Bitcoin to me is the stable coin. Like, Bitcoin is that piece in the garden. And yeah, maybe powered by chaos, but like, I don't know, it brings peace to you, and it's the only stable thing in the world. So yeah, it's a pretty good list. I kind of like it, though. I know you are going to bring on Beauty-On's one, and I didn't even get this one in the morning. I saw Beauty-On's one. I'm like, what is he even talking about? So
he went hard in the paint.
Yeah, but let's ask Taylor. What's his thoughts on this, and let's do the Beauty-On one.
Yeah. So on number 4, I think maybe he was referring to like the only reason Bitcoin has value is because fiat is so chaotic. Because there are no rules, people can just invent more. People can control it. Maybe that was what he was meaning. The one I kind of disagreed with was number 2 a little bit. Like, everyone is against Bitcoin before they are for it. I don't necessarily know if that's true. It might be more true now, but back in the day, like there wasn't as much anti-Bitcoin sentiment. People would just like find it and realize this is better. And it's not that they necessarily started out against it, but now that the price is higher, and I think people do have a tendency to say, oh, I missed the like early waves, so they're gonna more likely be against it. But other than that, I thought the list was really great, and I kind of liked the only buy Bitcoin with money you can't afford to lose. That was kind of interesting because it did flip it on its head. But yeah, it's a good list, and I think learning to think in Bitcoin is really important. Like, I think a lot of people buy Bitcoin and they just see it for like US dollar number go up kind of thing. Like they want Bitcoin to make more dollars, not that they want Bitcoin. So I think learning to think in Bitcoin is really important. To think, this is my currency. Like, what was that like really early meme? Like, it was it from the Matrix, and it was basically like, oh
yeah, the $1 million Neo one.
Yeah, you'll sell when it hits whatever, and he's like, when you, I forget it. I don't know. I wish
you won't. Basically, you won't. I butchered this meme reference the other day as well. But basically, the general gist of it is like, you won't have to sell your Bitcoin.
No, it's like Bitcoin's going to be worth $1 million one day, and it's like, no, like, you won't have to sell your Bitcoin for $1 million. You'll just buy things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but no, I get that, dude. Like that meme is so powerful. Opti, could you pull it up while I show the Beauty on?
Find it.
Anyway, so not all Bitcoiners were happy about this. We have Beauty on. Beauty on is the founder of Aztecos, this awesome kind of like self-custody Bitcoin app. You like buy these vouchers and you don't even have to do KYC legally. Like, it's really, really interesting. Go check out Azteco if you haven't.
Here's the meme.
But here's the meme. It says, what are you trying to tell me, that I can seriously trade my Bitcoin for millions someday? No, Neo. I'm trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to. Like, yeah, bro. Like, it's such a powerful meme. Anyways, Here is Beautyon, and he says Beautyon's 21 rules for Bitcoin as a total remedy for Sailor's 21 rules for Bitcoin. Oh, you gotta love Bitcoiners. 1, you don't need to understand Bitcoin to be able to use it. I agree. 2, nobody cares what you are for or against in maths. 3, nobody needs to grasp Bitcoin to do what Bitcoin was designed to do. 4, Bitcoin is not powered by chaos. Bitcoin is extremely orderly. It is fiat and evil KYC status who are for chaos.
Go off, King.
Oh my God. Beauty on Duncan hard. 5, Bitcoin has nothing to do with gambling. Bad analogies are anti-Bitcoin. 6, Bitcoin can't protect you. 7, no one owns Bitcoin. It is not an asset or a coin. 8, the price of Bitcoin doesn't matter. 9, Bitcoin is not about winning and losing. 10, The Matrix is a science fiction movie, not reality. 11, computer illiterates think knowledge is required to use Bitcoin. 12, Bitcoin does not destroy models, it enforces them. 13, orange pills are toxic, don't eat them. 14, statists who pretend to be Bitcoiners think there is no problem with fiat. They're gravely mistaken, don't follow them. 15, Bitcoin is for everyone on Bitcoin's term, not the statist terms. 16, learn how to think. 17, Bitcoin can't change people, it is not LSD. 18, laser eyes on avatars can't make Bitcoin change the world. 19, Bitcoin is not a person or pronoun. It does not need or cannot understand respect. 20, sell your Bitcoin when you need to. Don't be stupid always. 21, stretch out with your hate the state. Oh man, gotta love Bitcoiners. Also in other news, MicroStrategy boosts its stock sale to $700 million to buy Bitcoin. So we reported the news, I think it was yesterday or the day before, basically that they were using the infinite money glitch, leveraging the increased valuation of their stock in order to borrow money to buy more Bitcoin. They initially made an announcement that they were going to do $500 million. Apparently they moved this up to 700 million. I wish I had an infinite money glitch. That would be absolutely awesome. And the last news that I want to cover today for the week is EU's encryption report finds layer 2's private ownership of Bitcoin problematic for law enforcement. It goes on to say, the report provides an overview prevailing and upcoming encryption technologies, including quantum computing, Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies, DNS protocol, 5G networks, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, and explores, quote, how to uphold citizen privacy while enabling criminal investigation and prosecution. It is, quote, it is vital that relevant stakeholders in the justice and home affairs domain are aware of these developments and are provided with the means to stay on top of these technological advancements. Last one, member of EU Patrick Breyer of the Pirate Party warns that the following push against secure encryption comes as a part of renewed push for European mass surveillance. Last one, Breyer also warns that European Council has already agreed to greenlight, quote, chat control version 2.0 proposal next week. Goes on to say several sections of the encryption report focus specifically on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. These include the following excerpts. There are mainly two types of wallets, custodial and non-custodial. Custodial wallets refer to wallets where the user does not hold their own private key, but the service does so on behalf of the user. This is very common as, for example, funds stored at centralized cryptocurrency exchanges are custodial. The phrase not your keys, not your crypto refers to such storage. Goes on to say, while easy to use, there can be risks using custodians. As the company holds the private keys, the users have no cryptographical control over the funds. For law enforcement agencies, this can be beneficial as they can request exchanges and custodian wallets providers to freeze and seize cryptocurrency assets. It's kind of like what I was referencing in the beginning. The reason that governments love banks, the reason that they were able to get away with the 6102 order is because the gold and the money in people's banks are with a custodian. There's only a handful of custodians that the government has to knock on the door of and say, hey, you know that money that you're holding for another guy? Well, you can't use that anymore. And the custodian, of course, they're going to go along with it. In fact, you can even make the bet, you can even make the case that the custodian is in bed with the government. Remember the 2008 financial crisis and all the bailouts, right? Those bailouts were for the 12 larger, I don't know how many banks, but it was like the large mainstream banks. So like, of course they're like gonna do what the government wants them to do. Now, this discussion changes when the custodian becomes millions upon millions of individuals thinking freely, doing their own research, and saying, yeah, like history has shown, like the Canadian truckers protest, that you guys can't even control, like you guys can't help yourselves but to censor speech, as the Twitter files revealed, right? That the US government was working with social media companies to censor the political discourse of certain Americans, right? They can't even help themselves but to censor speech. And at the same time, they're saying, but trust me, bro, we won't do the same with money. I'm sorry if we don't trust you. Like, and the trust has been broken on a different, on multiple levels. Like, level number one is we trusted you not to debase the currency. You've broken that trust. Number two, we trusted banks to hold our money, and they've broken that trust multiple times throughout history, right? So like the infamous bank runs of the early 1930s, man, like the Great Depression, like you're supposed to trust these institutions holding your money, but the incentive structure gets misaligned because all of a sudden they're really not incentivized to just, die to custody your money. And, like no matter what, no one's going to get me. They're kind of really incentivized to hold on to their job, right? Like, who's going to take better care of your money but yourself? And that's what they don't want you to know. They planned and they designed this system always to have this intermediary, always to have this custodian. Why is it my problem that Bitcoin comes along and says, you know what? There is no necessity for custodians. You can, not only can you take self-custody, you can run the software yourself. We're going to talk about nodes during the culture, right? So like, ooh, boo-hoo. Like, and again, it's not that it stops law enforcement. You could still arrest someone in meat space and put them in a box. What they're arguing for is they still want those levers of control where they can just flick switches and just turn people's money off. The era of political money is slowly coming to an end, and don't let them psyop you into thinking that that's somehow dangerous for society. I would say it's more dangerous for society, government, to retain their power and control over money, because that's just going to lead to more endless wars, more debasement, and more human suffering. Full stop. Anyways, it goes on to say, non-custodial wallets refer to hardware and software wallets where the users have responsibility for their own private key storage. This comes with, quote, great responsibility, as a loss of private keys means the funds are not accessible anymore. Furthermore, sharing or theft of the private key, and this is where they're trying to scare you. It's like lots of responsibility. Theft can happen. Don't do that. You want to leave them with custodians. Well, one of the biggest thefts in human history, one of the biggest thieves is the state themselves, right? Anyways, goes on to say a mnemonic phrase is, and it kind of explains all that. But anyways, you guys get the general gist of it. And you're going to continue to see this pattern all over the world. As Bitcoin continues to be adopted, you're just going to see the elements of the bureaucracy that benefited from controlling money, benefited from currency debasement, fight this as if their life depended on it. And you can make the case it's because it does, right? But they're not really acting out of your best interest. They're really acting out of the interest of like, we have to retain the power of the money printer so that we can continue what we've been doing, over the last century. And it's been terrible. Like Bitcoin was born as a response to how much they dropped the ball, right? Why are we going to go back? I think it's time to try something new. So far, the results have been incredible, not only for my life, not only for the lives of Bitcoiners that have adopted Bitcoin, they've migrated to a Bitcoin standard, but you could also to the life of these public companies that have adopted a Bitcoin standard. Look at how well they've performed to the life of the shining country on a hill, El Salvador. Look at how hard El Salvador is killing it, right? So like so far, and you know what tells me we're over the target is how much the legacy media is responding to all these institutions killing it. Like El Salvador is killing it. Media was like, El Salvador is going to burn. And then they go to Argentina. The IMF goes to Argentina, says, Argentina will give you another bailout, but you have to de-incentivize the adoption of Bitcoin. Argentina suffers hyperinflation. Like it all it's like there is a pattern of every time you listen to the IMF, things don't go well. There's a pattern of not every time, but perhaps a lot of the time, you listen to the state and they just don't have your best interest at heart. I just can't help but to think the pandemic over a lot, pandemic and all these things, like a lot of the things that they were saying weren't true. And then I can't help but to think of my lived experience over these 8 years that I've been in Bitcoin. And I could tell you for a fact, it's been a very good idea, not only to buy Bitcoin, earn Bitcoin, but also put that into self-custody. And I've seen it improve not only my life, but the lives of the people around me. I don't think I've ever met someone that has told me, Nico, adopted Bitcoin, my life is shittier. I don't think I've had that conversation before, right? Don't trust me. Verify yourself. Check out Priced in Bitcoin. We've done episodes where we've made the case that the American dream isn't dead if you've migrated to a Bitcoin standard. Life gets progressively cheaper. They want you to live in a world where life gets progressively more expensive to benefit them, right? To benefit the state, because that's who it benefits when they debase the currency. And you can say very, very wealthy people as well because they own assets. But I would say mostly it's the state that benefits. That's how they get away with the $1.7 trillion in deficit spending. Anyways, I've gone rambling and been on a tangent, but I get very passionate when I hear these politicians like, oh, it's too complicated. You have to, it would require responsibility. It stops us from doing our job. Like, no, dude, I don't believe you. I'm sorry if I don't believe you, but that's where I'm at. Anyways, Taylor, what's your take on this? You don't start, a company that makes nodes if you didn't feel very passionate about this specific subject.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a great rant. I think it was, you hit on a lot of good points there, because I think it's just incredibly wrong for, governments to come in and say, basically, you can't just keep this little tiny electronic device in your house. It's not doing anything except like holding some savings, right? Like I know with the 6102 order back in the US's history, they did try and go take gold from people. But I think looking back at that example, it's easy to say that, that was wrong. Like they shouldn't have done that. It's not right to just go decide one day, we don't think you should be able to save money. We're going to go start confiscating assets, not because you haven't committed any like terrible, awful crimes or anything, or you're about to go to prison, but because we just don't want you to have those things. And so I think a lot of the regulations are concerning to a lot of Bitcoin companies. Like you said in the intro, I think it was the intro, that the U.S. regulatory environment is getting a little bit worse, and it has been over the past couple of years for a lot of Bitcoin companies. A lot of exchanges are starting to leave. A lot of exchanges are not offering like derivative products and other things that people might want in terms of accessing their Bitcoin or doing whatever they want with it. I think they're all just sort of assaults on freedom. People should be able to do what they want, especially with their money. And I think the government is getting scared that there's like valid alternatives out there. They're still like tiny compared to what the US dollar is, but they've seen the growth over the past 10, 15 years. And, it's scaring them and they don't like it. They don't like people being in control of their own finances, and they don't like people being sovereign. And so they, are going to attack that. And I think it's probably going to get worse, very likely. And I think a lot of the regulations, even with like a company that builds nodes and hardware wallet companies, I think are going to be the ones that potentially get targeted next, and regulations make it very difficult for them to offer their products, or they get regulated in such a way that hardware wallets like are forced to go through some sort of like third-party exchange. Like they could be regulated into saying, you can't run your own node. Like if you have a hardware wallet, you're forced to transact through a third party. So that way there's like sort of a choke point on the spending that money or transacting. And then it gives them more power to regulate even further. And so I think there's risk to a lot of Bitcoin companies going forward. There's going to be challenges, and people will just have to pay attention and, make very good arguments and make sure that it's what they're trying to do is well publicized, so that they don't get away with sneaking regulations in. I forget the details, but a couple of years ago, it seemed like that was happening. They were trying to sneak a lot of self-custody kind of stuff into certain laws that were getting passed. And a lot of the laws at the time were written very, very vaguely. So that's another concern as well. Politicians who don't really understand the laws they're writing, they hear from lobbyists or other people, they go pass laws, and then it's worded in such a terrible way that like all self-custody might be outlawed, even if they'll say, well, we weren't trying to do that, but look what happened because of some laws we passed. And so I can see them trying to do stuff like that too. So it's concerning. We'll have to pay attention and make sure that, those kind of things don't get passed, and that we argue for the ability for people to have access to their own money and the money that they choose.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really, really good perspective. Opti, what's your take on all this, brother? Also, shout out to the 1,173 of you guys watching live between YouTube and X, and shout out to the 50 or so of you guys watching live on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying the show, it really helps with the algos if you smash that like button. Really tells the algos to push the orange signal forward. Opti, what's your take on all this, brother?
Well, I just really want to touch on the last part, even though I could probably rant for like an hour about what Beautyon was saying, but I'm going to avoid that one because I love Beautyon. Anyways, kind of echoing what Taylor was saying. And actually you kind of asked like a rhetorical question, Nico. And every time I see a government or, a banker or politician basically fight Bitcoin or say like, we need custodians to hold the Bitcoin and you guys shouldn't be able to take your private keys into custody. I always hear one thing, and it's just the hubris coming out of their mouths, basically saying like, you're too dumb to control your own money. Trust us, bro. Like, we know how to control your money better. And it always feels like a slap in the face every time I see stuff and narratives and rhetoric on that vein, because it's really not that difficult. Like, if you can remember a phone number, if you can send an email, like, you can take your Bitcoin into custody. Yes, there's risks that come along with it, but when you seek freedom, there is always going to be risk. And this is why we're in the position we're in right now, is because everyone has succumbed to the idea of the nanny state that, there's always someone to protect you versus taking personal sovereignty. So anytime I see any legislation, any kind of whatever bills or even just, propaganda in this vein, I'm always just like, man, they literally think they're better than us. Like, they literally think you're stupid and that you can't control your own wealth. And this is the stuff that gets me riled up. It's like, no, if an 80 IQ Bitcoiner like myself can hold Bitcoin and take the keys into cold storage, like, anyone can do it. And the more they tell us that it's hard and it's unsafe, it's the more I want it. Like, I don't want the bumper what's the thing? The bumper lanes from bowling in regards to my money, because that's why we're in the position we are right now, where they can shut you off the banking system. They can cast you off into the wilderness, is because they have so much control over the money and so much control over the society. And of course, so much control over people's mind share, where they're like, you can't do this. Trust us, bro. We got this. And really, what I want to say to the EU is just a simple, have fun staying poor. Like, they just continue to shoot themselves in the foot. It's almost incredible how bad all the legislation coming out of the EU is regarding Bitcoin. And and again, whenever I see stuff like this, I'm always just thinking like, man, these politicians and these bankers really just want to destroy Europe. Like, I know you're here to protect us, but they're just constantly working against their citizens, and it's almost mind blowing. And it really goes back to the last point of Beautyon's 21 rules for Bitcoin, and it's the idea that the state makes everything worse, guys. I don't know what example we can bring. There's plenty of them, but anytime the state gets involved, they make things worse because they're not out here to protect you. All they're doing is trying to stuff their own pockets. So, as Beautyon said, neuter the state, let the hate flow. Make sure you understand what is going on, and the state hates you. It is what's the meme? It's not red versus blue. It is orange, and it's the state, and it hates you. No, it's you. You guys know it's you versus the state, and the state hates you. All that good stuff. But this is what we want to do here. You want to take back personal sovereignty, and the more they try to bubble wrap the world, the more they try to bubble wrap Bitcoin, the more I know I'm in the right place. And I'm like, I don't need your protection. I'm okay. I'm an adult. Yes, I might not be the brightest, but I can control my own wealth. Thank you very much. You guys got us in this position in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I think the state doesn't want to lose control. They've gotten a lot more over the past 40 years with digital, like, US dollar transfers, right? Like, people used to sort of hold like physical stock certificates or physical bonds or physical gold. And I think as things have gotten digitized, the state ended up with a lot more control because everything was digital. And so now they're finally seeing alternatives, and they're not super happy about losing control.
Yeah,
they've had it and they don't want to lose it.
It boils down to that, and I hate how hate's a strong word, but I strongly dislike how they try to gas you and just be like, oh, it's for your protection, versus like we tried that for many years. Like, you guys have totally abused that trust. And now like they're coping and they're basically, oh, it's going to require responsibility and you might lose your stuff. And like, they're telling you all these things, but I'm sorry. I don't trust them. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out to, and by the way, guys, and I know the reaction of a lot of our viewers be like, Nico, what are you talking about? Like the banking system has been relatively stable. Okay. So what I would respond to that is like, okay, congrats. You have a country that has a relatively stable financial system. The vast majority of the world doesn't have that privilege, right? So, of course, we live closest to the money printer. Like if you live in the US or you live in the Western world, you have a relatively stable fiat currency. And because it's relatively stable, they're able to kind of do the shenanigans in the background. And, they give the appearance that it's stable until it's not, right? With Bitcoin, it doesn't matter where you are. You can now earn in a currency that's not only stable, but it's going to go up and, it goes up in value. It's infinity divided by 21 million. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out to the Orange Pill app. Stack Friends who stack sats, one of our sponsors, joined the 10,826 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. It has a really cool geographical feature. So if you're traveling, if you move to a new city, it will show the Bitcoiners that are near you. If you, it also has a clever filtration system. So you'll only find fellow Bitcoiners in the app. It's one of the best ways to reach me directly. You could send me a DM via the Orange Pill app. It's one of the fastest and quickest ways to get me, to reach me. So guys, download the Orange Pill app today. Stack Friends who stack sats. It's incredibly awesome application. All right, everybody, let's hit the culture and talk to Taylor.
The Daily Culture.
All right, everybody. The most trusted place to buy and sell and host mining equipment. Check out our sponsor, KABOOMRACKS. You can scan their QR code. It'll take you directly to the KABOOMRACKS Telegram marketplace where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with them, access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with KABOOMRACKS. So again, scan the QR code, check the link in the video description to get started. This is where I personally buy my Bitcoin mining ASICs. Opti?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All right. So, Taylor, we teed this up before the show, and I knew we were going to get the question in the chat. So, teeing you up perfectly from the chat, we got Mateo, and he goes, "Can you guys go deeper into nodes? Many people still don't know everything you can do with a node and how sovereign you actually become." So, I guess let's just start with the basics. Why do people need to run a node, or rather, why do you think they should run a node?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way for me to describe it is a node is a direct connection to the Bitcoin network. And starting from there, you can build on top of it and build so much further, but it's your direct connection to Bitcoin. Early on, everyone that ran Bitcoin Core as their wallet had that. But as the blockchain has gotten larger, it's not as feasible for everyone to run a full node just on their PC. You can't just download Bitcoin Core and in 10 minutes be up and running with a Bitcoin wallet. So it's a little more challenging now there's a little bit more responsibility, I guess, with running a full node and being able to transact without the use of a third party. So starting with that like direct connection to the Bitcoin network that used to be easy, it's a little more challenging. So you have to kind of run a node, and most people choose to run it on a separate small, like tiny PC or a Raspberry Pi or something like that. They can start with that and then connect all the other Bitcoin wallets they have to that. So it could be, a Lightning wallet that's on your phone. It could be a Lightning wallet or a Electrum on your PC. They all connect back to your node. And that way, that node can power all of the Bitcoin wallets that you might want to be using. And so now all of those transactions, all of those funds are not going through a third party that can, either shut it down or just monitor the transaction. You don't want people monitoring all those transactions. Like I said earlier, you don't really want to provide visibility, and like no sane person wants everyone in the world to be able to like just look at their checking account, savings account, whatever they have every day. People would feel like that's an invasion of privacy, which it would be. And so to be able to get those advantages with Bitcoin, you have to do a little bit of work. You need to not keep your Bitcoin on an exchange, first of all. And second, run a node and then have all of your transactions and wallets be connected to that for transacting. And so I think a lot of people have gotten better about this over time. But even back in the day, a lot of people would be like, well, I'll just run Electrum and I'll connect to some public Electrum servers out there. but you're losing a little bit of privacy when you do that. And two, there have been issues in the past. It was maybe 6 years ago now, but I mean, there was an issue where you could actually get tricked into losing funds by relying on these public Electrum servers, and people thought that was safe because, hey, it's a Bitcoin connection. You're not really going through a third party, sort of. They didn't see it that way, and so they realized that malicious Electrum servers could actually respond back with an error code that said, "Hey, you're out of date. Click here and go download a new version of Electrum." And people would click that link, but it was a bad link to a malicious server. And so I think that was because of trusting public nodes, Electrum servers that were out there. Because you had been trusting them, they were able to respond to you with bad information, and it tricked people into downloading the infected wallet, and people lost funds because of it. So I think that just highlights, it's been a long time since that issue, but it highlights the importance of, you want to know what you're running. You want to understand the code you're running by going with, your own node, and you can look at what versions of code are on there. You can audit it. You can go look at what's running and really understand it. And then, you're in control at that point. You're not sort of just placing your trust in the hands of someone else, and you can be in a little bit more control. Beyond that, other advantages are you can start running all kinds of other really cool applications. And I think that was a big reason people started liking MyNode originally. You got Bitcoin Core and you got Lightning, but beyond that, there's so much stuff out there that people can do with Bitcoin. There's 40, 50, hundreds of apps at this point probably that you can run that tie in really closely with your node. They could be Lightning wallets, they could be block explorers, they could be all these other things that you can run. And I think people were interested in, but early on, a lot of people in Bitcoin were computer science engineers, and they could go run it themselves. But as Bitcoin started expanding to more and more people, the advantages of all those apps were apparent to people who weren't engineers. And so I think a big reason people started getting into MyNode early on was because they saw this value that they didn't want to go spend hours and days and tons of time tweaking all the settings and installing and manually running every little app that they wanted to run. And so you could just kind of get it all in a package. And from there, you can kind of find what your interests are. You can, get into, I don't know, like looking at block explorers or doing more advanced things with Lightning that you might want to get into. And so I think MyNode provides just a fantastic platform for sort of being that starting point and getting you into Bitcoin and getting you into Bitcoin quickly, so that you don't have to go spend, a couple of years of learning about engineering before you can really start getting into Bitcoin, because your goal is to get into Bitcoin. And so we wanted to make sure that it was really easy for people to do Bitcoin stuff without having to also be an engineer and understand computer science and programming and how to set all this up. And so we wanted to provide that value to large groups of people and make it as easy as possible.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Taylor, can we talk on the idea that we were chatting about before the show, that you were kind of framing it like there's levels to becoming a Bitcoiner and like taking those baby steps. And maybe if you're just getting into Bitcoin, you probably don't want to run out and buy a node right now. Maybe there's some baby steps to go to that process, but the final stage is run your own node, take Bitcoin into custody and all that good stuff. So will you elaborate a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I think that a lot of people get into Bitcoin and they just hear about it, and they might start doing a little bit of research. And that's sort of what I consider the first level. The next level is when people sort of realize they want to buy it. They run off to an exchange and they go just click buy, and they have a little bit of Bitcoin, and they're primarily into it because they see, the US dollar number, and it's going up and it's increasing. And that's sort of the second level. People have Bitcoin, but it's on an exchange. The third level is they realize, hey, like there are some real advantages to Bitcoin behind the scenes that isn't just about making more money. It's about sort of taking control. It was what we were talking about sort of in the last segment. It's about taking control of your money and sort of it being something that is really, truly yours. You're not reliant on third parties. It is your savings. And it can't be inflated away. It can't be, someone can't just go click a button and print 10 million more Bitcoin one day. And I think that's the situation most people live in with their fiat currency. They can be in a situation where they're in a country where they're experiencing hyperinflation, and it's just awful for the people in that country. And so Bitcoin provides a really good alternative for them to be able to save money. And so people can get that Bitcoin on an exchange. But then I think the next level beyond that is really where you start seeing the value, and you can provide advantages in like I think in Kathy Wood's example, the what was it, like third, sort of like other emerging market sort of currencies. I think that was kind of the one I was talking about, where it can really start helping people in these like emerging markets. But in a lot of those cases, they need to be able to have control of their Bitcoin themselves, because in some of those countries, Bitcoin might not be legal right now. And I've heard stories, of people, they'll start running a small miner, and even if it's making, 50 cents a day or $1 a day or whatever it was 5 or 6 years ago, that's a lot more money and a lot more purchasing power than they could be getting with their fiat currency while they're experiencing hyperinflation. So, Bitcoin is providing alternatives, like real alternatives to people in a lot of these emerging markets. And I think that's fantastic to see. It's amazing to see what Bitcoin is able to do in helping people that are experiencing like financial problems.
Love it.
And then right beyond that, though, once you have cold storage or control of your Bitcoin, that's when you should be interested in running a node. Because that's when it's going to provide you advantages. If Bitcoin is on an exchange, running a node isn't going to provide you any advantage. But once you've taken control of it and you've started learning about the fundamentals of Bitcoin and why there are these underlying advantages, at that point, run a node, keep going further, down the rabbit hole. And, there's a lot more to learn there. There's a lot of apps and stuff that you can run, and, you can continue learning.
Love it. Love it. Okay, Taylor, let's talk about MyNode in general. So we did get a few questions in the chat. One was, how long does it take to sync an Electrum Rust node on this? And maybe you can talk about the actual hardware that's on the Model 2. And then someone asked, is MyNode fully FOSS yet? So there's a lot of stuff to unpack there, but take it where you want.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with the products. So we have 2 products right now. We have the physical Model 2. That's everything you need. You'll get it shipped to you. Buy that and you'll be up and running. Then we have Premium, which would be software only. And so you can buy MyNode Premium for $99. Right now we have a sale going on. I think it's $15 off, and that goes through the rest of the weekend. If you'd have to click on buy now, and then you'll probably see the sale price. But with the premium software, you can build your own device. You can build it on whatever you want. It can be a Raspberry Pi 4 or Raspberry Pi 5, an old laptop. You can run it on a server. You can run it on a PC. There's a lot of flexibility in how you run it. And you can get started for free. You don't have to purchase the software. If you want to try it out, download the software, install it, get up and running, decide you like it, and then upgrade to premium to get access to support and get access to a few extra additional apps that are within the software. But if you're looking to just get up and running as fast as you can, then buy the Model 2, and that you can plug it in and use your web browser on your PC to access the interface, and you'll be up and running without having to go assemble everything yourself. So those are kind of the 2 options there. On fully FOSS, not yet. Right now, there's basically still a restriction that you can't resell it. But other than that, do what you want. But you can't take it and resell it, is effectively what the license is currently. We've looked at changing that. We might change it. We probably will at some point in the future. But as of right now, it's basically a do what you want except resell. And then I think there was a question on how long it takes to sync.
Yeah. So you can add that with, like we were talking with Nico before the show, that it's no longer running on a Raspberry Pi. You got a new Intel chip. So what's that do for the specs of running the node? And then how long does it take to sync a node? Because someone in the chat's like, man, I'm losing my hair right now syncing another node.
Yeah, so absolutely. That's a really good question. So I think there's a few different sync stages. There's syncing just the Electrum server part, which is a little faster. Then there's syncing the whole Bitcoin blockchain. The Raspberry Pi 4, which is still probably the most popular, but only because that was around the longest. The most users are running Raspberry Pi 4, I think is probably the way I should say it. That probably takes like a week now in an optimal network environment to sync. It's not quick anymore. So our hardware has shifted away from the Raspberry Pi. We no longer sell a Raspberry Pi 4-based device. That was what we called the Model 1. Now we only sell the Model 2, which is an Intel-based platform. It's a lot faster. I think it was about 5 times faster when we had measured it and were first releasing it. And it can sync in about a day. That does depend on your network, though, and sort of the peers that you end up getting when you start syncing. So if you sync over Tor, that might go a little slower. If you have a really good internet connection and you sync over, ClearNet, just your normal like IP network, that can take about like 24 to 36 hours. But again, it can depend on like your network and how it's set up, but it's much, much faster. And then in terms of syncing Electrum server, that sync happens after Bitcoin sync has completed, and it starts once you enable Electrum server. And on a Raspberry Pi 4, that would take like a day or two now, I think would probably be about the time. I haven't tested recently. But on a faster, like the Intel-based Model 2 we have, that should happen like probably in a few hours. It's drastically faster on some of the newer, more powerful hardware, like the Model 2 that we sell.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Someone in the chat was saying they asked about the team, and I told them in the chat it's basically just you, and they're like, he deserves a Bitcoin for this. So kudos to you, bro. And then for the audience, for our guest, I always ask you, what's the last 2 sets you want to leave for the audience? What's the last message? It could be about running a node. It could be a life, Bitcoin in general. What's the last message you want to leave?
Well, I would say, buy Bitcoin, move it to cold storage, and run a node.
Bars. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, man. Anyways, guys.
All right, Nico, it's Friday. We got to get to the meme review. We're going to do it in
Monday.
6 minutes. We'll do it 6 minutes. We're going to do a 5-minute meme review, bro. It's quick.
What do we... Okay. All right. If we're late to the meeting, that is Opti's fault. That is not my fault. All right, everybody. This is Opti's Friday meme review. Let's check it out. Here we go.
Yeah, boy. Opti's Friday meme review. They can wait on us at the meeting. All right, guys, you already know. Oh, Nico left to go to the meeting. Okay, all right.
I'm here.
Okay, all right, guys, you already know the deal. This is the Friday meme review. You guys ask about it every Friday. You yell at me when I don't get it on the show because we're running long and we got other things going on besides the live show. But you already know the deal. Tweet to the bullets, memes are the artillery. You guys are frontline soldiers in the $1 trillion PSYOP campaign against the truth. So continue to propagate the memes, continue to spread the truth, continue to get the calls of action out there. And then, of course, continue to ridicule the corporate press, the politicians, the central bankers, and their ilk. And, of course, if you're new here, guys, we're going to review the memes. And then once we review them, drop your meme review score in the chat. We'll read a couple of them as we wrap up the show. Okay, so first one is by BitStackP, and it goes, "It is on, #Bitcoin." And you can see we got a boxing match here, and we got a Bitcoiner on the left with the Bitcoin gloves, and we got the dirty fiat system on the right with the green dollar logo on the gloves. Orange versus green, guys. And someone in the chat corrected me on the meme. It's not red versus blue. It's the state and it hates you. That's the real meme. Okay. This next one is by Excellion, aka Samson Mounty. Goes, available capital versus available capital. And I absolutely love this because I'm going to follow it up with another meme that's really great. So you can see, available Bitcoin here is a little small black triangle here. And we have the Bitcoin market. And then we have the available capital in all of the markets needing to funnel into Bitcoin in the available Bitcoin on the exchanges and soon to be mined Bitcoin. As we say here all the time, there may not be enough Bitcoin at this price because we're not going to sell. But hey, if the price goes up, people are going to be incentivized to sell. Anyways, next meme is by James Lavish. And I think this is a good visual of what's going on right now. We have, this is the sun with, what's this? Is this a planet or a little sunspot here? And it goes institutions, which is the institutional demand, and then Bitcoin shorts. And as you can tell, it is no match for the institutional demand. Okay, next one. We've been talking about this one on today's show, which, sometimes I'm like a wizard when it comes to these memes. I just pick the right ones. We got AKA at BTC Breakdown on Twitter, and he goes, there are two kinds of people. Someone that is drowning in the fiat system, and then us Bitcoiners that are just floating on top, living a good life, enjoying life, memeing, eating good, getting fit, all that good stuff. This next one is by Sly Goomba on Twitter, and I love this one. I'm sure you guys are seeing variations of this one on Twitter recently. I don't even know where the meme originally comes from, but I'm seeing a lot of them recently. And Bitcoin Eyes, it goes, silent fiatist, a Bitcoiner is talking. I'm sure this is how we feel every weekend when they're like, hey, did you guys catch the game last night? Hey, that's cool, bro. But did you see the news about X celebrity? Anyways, next meme is by at HODLXHold. And this is for all the newbies out there. Do not get sideswiped by the shitcoin influencer. So we got a fresh normie, you know, the girl, she's smiling while the guy is playing the guitar. He's serenading her, and this guy's a shitcoin influencer. And zooming in, he's not doesn't even know how to play the guitar. Okay, this is exactly what's happening if you're listening to the shitcoin influencers. And this next one, shouts out to Visnock. He's in the chat. He's like, yo, I need to get my meme on the show. So anyways, he goes, meme for my mestizo at Optimus Field. And he's got some screenshots of my tweets here. And it goes, fake money got us here. You cannot reason with the ideologically insane. And then we have Nico here looking back. What you're seeing is information narrative trench warfare. And me right here with the Opti hat. Let's go. And this last one is by M in our Telegram group. And I don't know where this came from, but you know, anytime I get a chance to roast Nico on the show, you know, I take it. So we got before Bitcoin, and this guy kind of looks like Nico. I don't know who this guy is, to be honest, but shouts out to UM. And then after Bitcoin, it is Nico, long hair with a beard, looking all disheveled. Okay, all right. Anyways, guys, drop your meme review score in the chat as we cover ours live, and we will review them. On that note, Nico is back. All right. I'm going to give it my 1 of 1 anti-fiat money club, which I think I'm going to redesign, and I want to change it to anti-fiat money gang. But these are just for me. So sorry, guys.
I'm going to give it a Bitcoin well hat. That's my score.
Okay.
Taylor, what do you give those memes?
I don't think I wrote them down on the score. The score is a meme in itself, or you can do a throwback 1 through 10, whatever you want to do.
On all of them overall, or
yeah, you can pick one. It doesn't matter.
Oh man, I don't know. They were good. I don't know, 8. I love the available capital one. I don't know. It just like a really cool perspective. That one was like, yeah, nice. Like I want to
score. Solid score. OG score. I like that.
OG score.
All right, everybody, drop your meme score in the live chat, and if we have time, we'll get through it.
We'll get to some.
So I do want to pull up the first one by Rich BC. The amount of Friday meetings Opti canceled without Nico knowing. That's a great score. Opti Bastardo. Poor son of dad, Opti Fields, 1 Bitcoin for Taylor, 69 NAX for Opti. Very good. Satoshi, my meme score is a Russian submarine off the coast of Florida, and the U.S. Air Force parading around our tax dollars in response.
Nico, are you shooting at the submarine?
Meme score petition to make Nico embark on a lock journey. Matthew J, I give the memes 1 Simply Bitcoin hat that lowered my time preference for finally having one. SpongeBob SquarePants, I give the memes 10 Bidenomics. Next one, Phil C, I give the memes 1 Bitcoin stablecoin. And we got Planet Earth, I give the memes Orange Man for the orange coin. Lightning Goats, I give the meme a review of handful of goat pellets. Very good score. Elaine, when Nico stops memes, Opti comes apart at the seams. Opti is our meme protector for all who would be a Bitcoin protector. Memes live on Simply.
Okay, let me see. Let's do
Hunter Gun.
Yeah. That's why. All right, we're going to Rumble here, and we got Narwhal Tacos, and he goes, I give those memes my samurai node, which is a lifeless brick right now.
Bullish. All right, everybody. Yikes. That was Simply Bitcoin Live for June 14, 2024. Hope everyone has an amazing weekend. Make sure to smash the like button. Consider subscribing. I'm your host, Nico. It's my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, and our guest for today, Taylor. And we'll be back on Monday for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Peace out, everybody.
This episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.